Hi guys, yeah, Simon Palmer here from the south coast of England and meetsimonpalmer.com. Could you just let me know if you can hear me and if you can see me? Because it would be quite nice not to go through this without anyone being able to see or hear me. So could you just say in the chat, just go why, yes, yes, if you can see me and or hear me. That would be super cool. Otherwise, I'll just keep going and I'll check with me Julie upstairs if she can see or hear me. Okay, so I'll just give it a couple of minutes to let some people come on and let me know if you can see or hear me in the chat. We're going to talk a little bit about, or a lot of it, about diving deep into goal setting. I can hear the pitter patter of tiny feet. So you can hear me. Thank you. Thank you. It's interesting. I just heard myself because there's a bit of a delay. So that's all good. So let's dive in. What I'm going to do, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, and then we will talk some more about goal setting. So yeah, as I say, my name's Simon Palmer. Let's share my screen, and then I'll show you some pictures. It'll be difficult for me because I won't actually be able to see what's going on. So I'll just dive in. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting options. And I'll tell you a little bit about who I am and what on earth am I doing here. So let's share these. So first of all, normally I would be doing these with me Brittany, who, as you can see in the picture, unfortunately, she's really poorly. She seems to have laryngitis. I suspect that's from talking too much, too fast, too hard, too much, too fast. But best wishes to her. Get well soon, and hopefully she'll be up and running later today over there in Pacific time. So yeah, get well soon, Britt, and I'll catch up with you when you're better. So a little bit about me. So that's me and Julie in the middle, and I've been an osteopath for the last 28 years. We live on the south coast of England. Those are our two boys you can see in the picture, Ben and James, both away at uni now. So now, yeah, we're home alone syndrome, all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure how short-lived it'll be, but yeah, we do everything we used to do when we first got married. Except instead of going to the pub, so that's all good. But we have a lot of fun down here on the south coast. You can see our house there. I work from home, so I commute up and down the stairs, which is fantastic. I've been doing that for the last 18 years, so that's been great to be at home and watch the kids grow up and take them to school. I've been very privileged to have done that. You can see at the top there, that's when I was sent away to school, English public school, when I was 11, 12 years old. It wasn't a particularly happy time. I was beaten up well, every day whilst during my first year, probably because I was a little bit smaller than everyone else and a little bit mouthy, but there you go. Character building, they called it. And since I've been doing some sort of diving deeper personal work recently, it's all part of the ingredients that make up the person at the end of the day. So I can't look back on it and say it was necessarily a bad thing, although it obviously wasn't very nice for my mum when I would call up every night in tears, and I'm sure it didn't help her much. But yeah, here we are a little bit later on. But what it did do was encourage me to play more sport, because I've always enjoyed my sport. Hockey and squash were my main games. I would often be found for hours on end in the squash courts. That's probably to hide away from everyone else at school. But that's all I ever really wanted to do, was just play sport. But my dad told me that I needed to get a bread ticket. So I was looking around to see what kind of bread ticket I could get, which would enable me to play sport. And osteopathy was the one that came up trumps. I didn't do particularly well in my exams because I was more interested in playing sport, and I got into osteopathy college by the skin of my teeth, by virtue of a good interview technique, I suspect. But we managed to get through that and graduated, and as I say, that was all 28 years ago. So since then, I've been working as an osteopath, but it was mainly because I only went to work because I wanted to play sport, and that's been the way ever since, really. But now, as I become more infirm, it's more important to concentrate on other stuff, and I've been working on my goal setting. And so that's been an interesting activity for me, because I really never set any goals before. I mean, when we used to play hockey, we had a good team and we played at a good level, and we'd always concentrate on the next game, the next game, the next game, without any big ideas, because that would be disruptive to think too far ahead, and you have to live in the present when you're playing sport. But about 3 years ago, I decided that I could see that the kids were going to be leaving home, and I could see that I needed to be doing something different, because I wanted to travel more. And I couldn't play sports so much because of injuries and stuff like that. I had 3 operations on my knee. And I was looking at ways where I could work online, particularly, but first of all, with another business which would generate some residual income. So I got into network marketing about 3 years ago, and that was great. And it went really well to start with, but then I sort of stumbled, and it became a bit uncomfortable, because I was being encouraged to ask patients if they'd be interested in the business, and that didn't sit very well with me. So I looked at other opportunities, and I wanted to work more online. And as it turned out, what I needed to do, which I've discovered in the last few months, not quite a year now, is that I needed to build a brand. I've been branding me in the last few months, and it's a sort of natural, organic process, and it's the mindset thing has become the main attraction for me, to be able to share what I've learned with others. I mean, I'm not qualified as a psychiatric doctor or a psychologist or anything like that, but I've been through. I played a lot of sport, as I say, and quite high level. I played with Olympic gold medalists, and always with or against internationals. So I've always been attracted by that sports psychology. It's been nice to actually tap back into that, because neurology was actually my favorite subject at college. And so that's one sort of insight, but also my patients have included sports pros. I mean, including golfers and squash and tennis professionals. I even had a motorcycle world champion who unfortunately is deceased now, but he was a wonderful guy. Famous actors, including ones from Dynasty, as you'd say in the States, and Four Weddings and a Funeral, even an ex-Miss World, and Status Quo drummer. So I've seen people and met people and tapped into their mindset of these high achievers. So I can speak with some authority as to why mindset is such an important thing. And as far as a home business person is concerned, someone with a home business, I think mindset is the number one thing to get on top of. And what it's helped me do very recently, in the last few weeks, is to identify a mission, which is what we'll talk about a little bit later. But just to let you know right from the outset, what I'd like to do is I'd like to help people understand that they don't need to have a 9 to 5 job. The education system that we have churns out kids, teenagers, for a corporate career or a 9 to 5 job or being an employee, and it doesn't need to be that way. And so we need to explain to people and monetize their own passions. So like for me, when it was all about playing sport, it's for people who want to do that, or for people who like fishing, or for people who like needlework. There's absolutely no reason why you can't build a business around those interests and do what you love. So that's one part of it. But also the second part of it is I want to change education so that everybody gets the opportunity to work on their consciousness, because so much of our brain power is untapped, that we need to be able to work more on that, or use that so much better. And there are ways and means of doing that which you never learn at school or uni. And personal development should be important for everyone. So let's crack on. That's enough about me. And one of the first things I ever learned when I started network marketing all those years ago was about goal setting. I was looking through my notes earlier, and I saw that on the very first page of my very first notebook 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago, was about goal setting. And we were taught to make our goals SMART. So that would be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Time bound means that you could put a time on it whereby you know when you want to achieve it by. And the goals that I've written in my book were sort of end of year goals, 90-day goals, which are all great. And then they were sort of quite specific to the business I was at the time. It was about sponsoring 3 people a month and making 15 calls a week. And I was wondering if those were actually my goals, or the goals that were being impressed upon me. We were told to visualize, and I think that's hugely important. The A4 pictures of targets was for your dream board, which I think is important as well. And another really good thing that we were taught back then was to visualize 5 minutes first thing in the morning before you get up. And I think that's you should be probably doing it for more than 5 minutes, including a little bit of gratitude, practicing some gratitude. So goal setting has always been very difficult for me, because I was quite happy just doing what I was doing. I never really wanted to explore anything else. But the more I've looked into it, and the more I see where I want to go, the more I can see how goals are hugely important. But we need to differentiate between means goals and end goals. Now, the means goals are the ones that we all learn as kids, that you got to do well at school, because when you do well at school, you go to a good university or college, and then you get a good job, which is all well and good, but it's not absolutely essential, and it's not necessarily particularly inspiring to those of us who wouldn't necessarily be too academic. Having more money as a goal is a means goal, because you want to know what you want to do with that money. And in home businesses and working for network marketing companies, goals are often upgrades in rank. So that's a means goal, because what we really need to be thinking about is our end goals. And end goals are the feelings that you want to experience. So when we talk to our kids and say, what do you want to do when you grow up? These are more like means goals. But what we should really be saying is, how do you want to live, or how do you want to feel when you grow up, or as an adult? I'm just going to just go live on Facebook, if the internet is up to it, because then we can do some ninja tricks as far as getting this message across. So yeah, end goals these would include things like traveling the world, experiencing love and happiness, and being able to give back to others, and to where you came from, and the learning new skills, learning new languages and stuff like that. And it was Tony Robbins who said, what our souls crave is growth and contribution. And I think that's absolutely right, because that's when we're happiest. It's when we're learning stuff. When they say you're either green and growing, or you're brown and dying. So growth and contribution are hugely important. A lot of my material I find from Vishen Lakhiani at Mindvalley, and he said, don't attach your happiness to your goals. You need to be happy before you attain them, because you'll find attaining them much easier when you make the journey, not the destination, the key to your happiness. So you've got to enjoy the journey, and while you're enjoying your journey, then it makes it that much easier to achieve those goals. So moving on, this is a way, and this is a Vishen technique, method of identifying what you sorry, having turned Facebook on, I'm now getting messages on my phone. The three most important questions, and you can Google this. If you go Mindvalley or Vishen, three most important questions, you'll find this little exercise whereby you just spend 90 seconds just going through these three things. So write down experiences on a piece of paper, and then just try and identify what you want to experience, what you want to do. This might include travel and love and relationships, having healthy relationships, raising kids maybe. Those are the sort of things you want to have these experiences. And then you have to consider your growth. I might actually just tell you, I did this exercise earlier, so I'll just explain to you what I had in mind. I had traveling around the US for experiences I wanted to have on lots of beaches and skiing and famous resorts with my kids and with the grandkids, because I'm certainly aware that if I don't pay for the grandkids to come, then they're liable not to come. Eat in the best restaurants and have no pain. I had a lot of pain with my knee and low back in recent years, so it'd be nice not to have any of that. Become a citizen of the world. That sounds like a fantastic thing. Hi Anta, thanks for coming along. Miguel, how you doing? Laughing with friends and stunning resorts, just enjoying company and stunning resorts. So that's what comes down as experiences. And then growth. So who do you need to be? Who do you need to become to have those experiences? What books do you need to read? What languages do you need to learn? That sort of stuff. And what do you for me, this was growth. I wanted to be an international speaker, with easy to manage any situation, and being able to meditate twice a day to help understand how the brain works and be able to share that with others. So this is how I want to grow, to be able to experience those things. And then, having become that person who experiences those things, how do I want to contribute, and how can I give back? And so for me, this was to build a new pitch for the hockey club, or sharing the knowledge that I've learned. It's absolutely fascinating what I've learned, particularly the research that's been done into brain waves and with functional magnetic resonance scans. It's just fascinating to me, and it'd be nice to share that with others. And as I said earlier, from my mission point of view, to be able to change education so that there are these opportunities for all. And just because you don't necessarily achieve so much at school, it doesn't mean you're not going to get the best jobs or achieve all these experiences and growth that you want in your life. And as I said, to help people understand that they don't have to be an employee. Because these rules that we have, they're just society's rules, and that we've learned them because that's what's been taught to us as kids, and there's no reason for us to question them. And I think once you identify these three things and then go about getting them, then whether it's the law of attraction or the reticular activating system in your brain that helps you create these things, but your goals actually create a new reality. So that's what we want to be doing. We want to be creating these new realities for ourselves to take us where we want to go ourselves, not just where society leads us. So you can see from this, there was a UN project was done in 2015, last year. It was called My World 2015. And what it did was they polled about 6 million people. It was the most important, what was utmost consciousness about what they wanted better from the world. And as you can see from this, that the number one thing that they wanted to change was education. They wanted to make sure they had some education. How are you? Healthcare, better job opportunities. I'll read Facebook people who are watching. Oh yeah, see, I forgot to put the T in. Honest and responsive government, nutritious food, protection from crime, violence, and access to clean water. 6 million people across the world who were polled decided important things that they wanted from their world. So when you're thinking about your own values, these are the sort of things that it's going to resonate much more with other people. So we'll move on. What you'll find here is this is a little model which explains the 4 states of how you can live your life. So if you're not very happy in the now and you don't have much vision, then you're in this sort of downward spiral of depression. When you can have some vision but are not very happy. So if you're running your own business and you've got ideas for the future, but you're not very happy right now, then that's the stressful part of that graph or picture. When you're quite happy where you are at the time right now, but without much vision for the future, then you're in this sort of current reality trap. It's going to last. The place that we all want to try and get to is to be happy in the now and with a vision for the future. And that's when you find yourself in flow. And that's where we want to be. Happy in the now with a vision for the future. And then that's when things really start to go work for you. I think I've got my notes around the wrong way. So what I want to talk about now is this is another thing that Vishen Lakhiani coined, the term rules, which are bullshit rules, which are essentially the society's rules of what we've been taught, which are nonsense. I'll just leave that up there to show you, but for the people who are watching, hi Sophia, how are you? You can't actually see my screen, so I'll read them out to you. So these bullshit rules, also known as rules, the pursuit of money is wrong. Success requires hard work. Every woman needs a man. Aging is part of life. Well, that's an interesting one because obviously aging is part of life, but it doesn't mean you have to be old before your time. That's what that one means. Religion is needed for salvation. Love hurts. 9-to-5 job is necessary. These are all rules, bullshit rules. Be realistic with your goals. We need degrees, and a corporate job means success. So they're not. That's what society impresses upon us, but they're not necessarily true. In fact, we'd even go so far to say they're bullshit, because they're just, these society's rules are just illusions that we've chosen to believe. We've chosen to do that. We may have learnt from our parents and that sort of stuff, but we've chosen to do that, which means that we can actually choose not to do that. So we can change these things. And this is why we're afraid to do different things, to leave the sort of comfort zone where everybody sits quite happily. We're afraid to do it because we feel that we're going to be breaking these rules. And if we don't know that they're bullshit rules, then we don't want to break them. We get told about having ideas above our station and stuff like that, and that's supposed to be a bad thing. And that's surely that's not a bad thing. We should all want to improve upon ourselves. But with all these things, just because if you are in a corporate job doesn't mean you can't be happy. I'm sure there's plenty of people that can be happy. It just means that we don't necessarily need to understand these illusions, and we just smash the ones that aren't relevant to us anymore. That's the way forward. And what I'm going to share with you a video that was recorded by a hairy hippie a few years ago, and you might like this one. I wonder if I have to refresh.
The thing I would say is, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world. Try not to bash into the walls too much. Try to have a nice family life. Have fun. Save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing.
All right, so yeah, hopefully you could hear that on Facebook. That was Steve Jobs just explaining that all this thing that we call life was made up by people no smarter than ourselves. So I'm just going to come back to the chat and see how we're all getting on. Can you still hear me? I hope so. Still hear me and see me? That'd be great. Just mention in the chat. Always difficult to tell when you're on your own what's going on, because you've got no feedback. So okay, so that's just Steve Jobs explaining a little bit about that life is just created by people no smarter than you, and you can change it. So there's no reason why we can't change it. So let's have a look at this. When I was talking, when you that's the one we wanted. So when you're building your brand, when you're building your own home business, and you need to identify what your values are, and sometimes that can be quite difficult, but one way of doing it, and this was a technique described by a guy called Martin Rutte, I think, R-U-T-T-E, and he said what you need to imagine is vision of heaven on earth. I mean, heaven might not be the right thing for everyone, and perhaps what is your vision of paradise on earth would be better, or more universally accepted, but you get the idea. So when you're trying to think of your values, try and identify what's your vision of heaven or paradise on earth, and it may be trying to eliminate homelessness or hunger, or providing fresh water or electric cars for people. But when you dive deep down to work out how you're going to achieve your goals and what your visions are going to be, it's interesting to try and work out your values, because that's when you get deep enough to establish what your own personal values are. That's when you'll start to find it easier to identify your visions and your experiences that you want to have, and the growth that you need to make to grow into that person, to have those experiences. And then, having grown into that person and having those experiences, how you can contribute and give back to where you came from. And this is a very difficult thing to do. It's you have to dive really deep inside. It takes a lot of work, a lot of meditation, time to yourself to actually dive deep in here. And I'm doing a lot of work with a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, who it's amazing work that he does, and it's all measured with these functional magnetic resonance scans, so MRI scans that are actually going on while people are thinking, and they measure how the brain's working, so they know what sort of thoughts you can have and what sort of effect it's having on the brain, and which parts of the brain are firing up when you have these thoughts. And you can actually go into it, create this by meditation. Some better than others, some are better at it than others. By meditation, you can go and achieve the right sort of brainwave, and I'm sure we can do a webinar on this another time. But to achieve the right sort of brainwaves to make changes in your brain, and once you start making changes in your brain, that starts to change your physiology. And when you start changing your physiology and your biochemistry, then your whole body starts to work differently. So you can actually make these changes. You can certainly change your thoughts, but you can actually change how your body works. So ultimately, you can end up changing your DNA by thinking about it. And it's quite profound, and I probably haven't explained it in the best way. But and if you don't believe it, maybe it's better to just suspend your disbelief, because this stuff is all measurable with these functional MR scans. And it was who says in one of his meditations, he says, you cannot go to the future and create a new destiny while holding on to emotions of the past. So you need to love yourself enough to do this, he goes on to say. And so this is all talking about diving deeper and finding out what limiting beliefs you have in yourself, which you've probably learned from before you were 10. So if you've developed these beliefs as a young child, then everything you learn on top of that is flawed, because it's built on a flawed foundation. And some of the stuff that you can learn as a kid, just by being told off by your parents and going and sitting on the naughty step or something like that, you may feel, just because mummy's angry, that she doesn't love you. And then you decide that you're not lovable. And then if you develop that thought as an under 10-year-old, and the rest of your thought processes and belief patterns are built on top of that, this is what you have to deal with later on when you're trying to unearth it and peel back the layers to make these changes. So it becomes quite fascinating. Just wondering what the next slide is. Oh, all right, that's cool. That's coming up to the last slide. So come back and stop sharing my screen. See what's going on in the chat. How you doing, Facebook? Still some people there. That's cool. Nice to have you with us. So I'm thinking normally Brittany and I would have a little chat about this, but because she's poorly, we can't. So just a couple of little things that we can talk about whilst we're talking about goal setting. And you really need to be quite audacious setting your goals, have big dreams, and share them with others. Because if you start to share them, like I shared my mission earlier, when you start to share your dreams and these missions, then you can actually help to attract like-minded people, build your tribe around this, and that's when you start to actually make changes. So it'd be great on Facebook if you turn on my notifications, and please share this with anyone you think might be interested. And a couple of other things about goals is you should never set a goal on what you didn't achieve in the past, because there's probably a very good reason why you didn't achieve it, and you'll just bring back the same feelings and make the same mistakes again. So change it. Don't focus on things that are broken. Don't focus on brokenness, because then you'll just attract more brokenness. What you want to do is you want to focus on a new model for overcoming the problem. So don't use past models, focus on a new model to change what you want to change. And I think that it's a good time actually now, because instead of having a little chat, we could talk about shots. And moonshots are obviously huge goals. Moonshots was a term developed by Larry Page, who was the founder of Google. And this is all about what I've just been talking about, not getting stuck in society's rules and choosing a mission. And you need to be unrealistic in your goals, because realism is it's nothing more than a socially acceptable form of pessimism. So I'll say that again. So realism is nothing more than a socially acceptable form of pessimism. And we don't want to be feeling like that. Well, that's not loving to ourselves if we're feeling that sort of stuff. And you'll find that people with the most consistent track records, the biggest achievers, are the ones who set audacious goals, but they don't think in terms of what is, they think in terms of what could be. Hi Afan, how are you? Bonsoir. So what you need to do is you need to reframe your thinking and start thinking about moonshots, thinking big, thinking well, think as big as Elon Musk. Elon Musk is moonshot. Elon Musk's mission is to make humans an interplanetary species. He wants to go and inhabit Mars, which is huge, obviously. And you might say that, is he ever going to achieve it? And perhaps he'll fail in his goal. Well, yeah, he hasn't achieved it yet. But what has happened by having these huge goals is it develops a new space rocket, and so which has now made NASA defunct. So NASA now send their payloads to space with Elon Musk's rocket. So what you find when you have these moonshots is, yeah, you might be opening yourself up to failure because it's such a big target. But what you find out along the way can help enormously. I mean, can help humanity. Google's moonshots were to try and to supply free internet around the world, to have driverless cars and Google Glass. Have they been a success? Cars aren't quite a success just yet, but they're getting there. I know, quickly, I think. So you're very welcome, Afan. So yeah, so failure isn't as expected as you might think. So yeah, so yeah, when you're being told to be realistic, you're actually you're probably liable to cause anxiety, because, oh no, when you're told to be realistic, people just don't want to cause anxiety, because it would be too stressful to think too far in advance, or what I said earlier about having ideas above your station. So this is when you need to live with blissapilling. So you need to be happy in the now and with big visions, and that's when That's when the big things happen, and you can make yourself happy in the now, because you can, there are techniques that you can do, and I'm sure we can do this on another webinar, by being grateful and expressing gratitude and doing that every day. That once you've got, you're more likely to attract what you want into your life, because all the while you're ungrateful or not appreciative of what you've got, and you've got this negative thought process going on, all you actually attract to yourself is more negativity. Avoid that. Start making yourself happy and have an exciting goal. And you have to be patient with these things. It isn't just because you are happy now, you've been grateful, you've expressed a number of gratitudes every day, every morning, every evening, in that just overnight the universe is going to bring you these big goals that you've been looking for. So you have to be patient. But what happens is that you enjoy the ride. Part and parcel of all this is enjoying the ride, and part of the success is enjoying the journey. So that's hugely important thing to remember. You have to be patient, but you will get these offshoots from once you start having these big goals and attracting people to your to share them with you and to help you achieve them, because you can't do all this on your own. You have to attract other people to share these goals with you, and to, well, they say your vibe attracts your tribe, and you need to share these things. You can't do it on your own. You need to, yeah, have fun. You're absolutely right. Patience is essential. You need to be patient. But once you've got this idea, once you've got this moonshot, then you just go and take baby steps in the direction you think you want to go, and then you auto correct. So it doesn't mean that right from day one you are traveling in the right direction, because as long as you've got going, then you can auto correct on the way, like the rocket going to the moon or into space. It's always auto correcting all the way. It's like having a GPS. It doesn't go the shortest way, or the modern ones now, I don't know if you've noticed, but mine now tells me where the traffic is and which way to go. And you think, well, why would it want me to go that way? But actually it's because it's identified where the traffic is, and it's identified a way around it. And these are the baby steps you take. And says that once you plug your destination into your GPS with your big moonshot thought and your big ideas, your huge visions, your unrealistic goals, and then you head off and auto correct on the way to get them. But the most important thing is you're patient and you enjoy the journey. To start with, it's the pain of where you are pushing you forward. This is a Ray Higdon term. I'm not sure where he got it from. Maybe he coined it himself. But the pain pushes you to start with, until you see the vision, and then that starts pulling you. And that's when it becomes so much stronger. And that's when, if you've got a mission, that's when it starts to pull you that much faster. Yeah, so you may not know how to get there, and you're going to autocorrect. But it was Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, and it's a book that I encourage everyone to read. It was written in the 1920s. He went around interviewing the big hitters, the big industrialists of the time, and he said, I'm going to read this. As you grow, you'll know more, because you're able to communicate with sources of knowledge not available through the ordinary reign of thought. Which may sound a bit odd, but actually what he's talking about, and he called it vibes, which is what made me think about it, with the vibes attracting your tribe. When you've got these vibes, it's actually, what he's describing is intuition. And when you can tap into your intuition, then the inspiration comes to you. So I wrote it down somewhere, which I can't find it now, but the goal comes to you, rather than the intention, rather than you intending to do something. If you just head off in the right direction, the goal itself will actually come to you. And I think that's that's the way to reframe your thinking when you're worried about setting goals. So that's pretty much what I've got to share with you today. The what I was thinking was, when I was talking about the opportunities that are available now to people to have their own business or monetize their passion, available through e-commerce particularly, and here we go, and Kickstarter, and the fact that you can attract or show your message to so many more people through social media is absolutely enormous. I've seen lots of my friends online have been launching new businesses. There's new business ventures launching all the time. I'm particularly excited about one of mine at the moment, because I was talking to one of the bigwigs from Canada yesterday. I'm talking to him again tomorrow, and the business is very new to the UK, but going explosive in the States and Canada. So it's something I'm really excited to tap into. It's all about sports and fitness. And interesting, I was talking to a patient the other day, and he was asking me what anti-inflammatories I used, and I suddenly thought that I actually hadn't taken any anti-inflammatories while I've been using this stuff. And so that actually shocked me, because I hadn't realized, I didn't notice. So that's really exciting, and we're looking to build that in the UK and build a local team. So that's super cool. But the other thing that one of my mentors, Diane Hockman, who's currently there's me Brittany, who couldn't make it. So yeah, Diane has just re-released her, well, the course has been available for a long time, but she's going to be doing some more live sessions, live Q&As, live webinars, that sort of thing. And she's for her attraction marketing intensive course, and it may be something you want to have a look at. So if you I mean, I'm going to, for your Facebook guys, I'm going to read it from my slide. If you want the financial freedom you were promised when you first joined your primary business, if you want to earn top earner status and global recognition and to be speaking on stage at your company events, you want to sign up unlimited reps effortlessly without having to chase a single person again, ever. They come to you, you don't chase them. The traction marketing intensive. And you want your ability to write your own paycheck and call the shots and never have to work a job in the game, never have to work a job again, then this is the course for you. This is a picture of me and Diane when we met in Austin, Texas in August. And have a look. Go to meetsimonpalmer.com/AMI. So that's Alpha Mike India. Meetsimonpalmer.com AMI, and have a look at the course and see if it's something that you might be interested in. As I say, she's always updating it. It's always available, but in the next few weeks she'll be doing some more live sessions. And if you're interested in the Secret Club for Marketers, then she runs that, and I've learned so much from that in the last few months. That's well worth having a look. So if you want an invitation to have a look around the Secret Club for Marketers, then hit me up, send me a message. I'm all over social media, so you can find me there, or just comment below on the live stream. And thanks for listening, Facebook. I'm going to turn you off. See you on the next one. And I'm going to stop sharing over here. So thank you very much for listening to me. Any questions, fire away. And let's get rid of that. And here we are, come back. So thanks ever so much for hanging around, watching. It's been great. It's been interesting doing it on my own for the first time. That's fantastic. It's very much more difficult without the interaction, but there you go. You have to do these things. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to learn, and I've certainly learned plenty. I've been delighted actually that the hasn't crashed on me, because it's been very poor for the last couple of days, and my live streams have not been. I haven't been able to do any because I've had no interweb, as I call it. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. I'll post a replay on my YouTube channel. You can find all the replays and Facebook Lives and stuff like that at meetsimonpalmer.com/videos. If you're interested in the health and fitness thing, which is taking off in the UK, that just hit me up on that. Send me a message. Leave a comment on my Facebook page. Plenty of ways of getting hold of me. This call is a wrap.